Hello, and welcome to an end-to-end demonstration of Jobman. Thank you so much for considering us as your solution. We're very excited to have you here. And obviously, one of the great things about looking forward to a solution coming into your company is the outcome-based problems we can solve for your business. My objective today is to take you through an end-to-end process in the software. It's super important to note that our software has been designed specifically for manufacturing. And whilst most of the companies we engage with fit into the cabinet making, millwork, joinery, furniture, fit out, or commercial space, this platform is being used by many, many, many different types of manufacturers. The language I'll use today will be specific around cabinet making so that you can get a really good understanding of what the software can provide for your business. And as this is one of the most bespoke industries in the world, seeing how it can handle that absolutely very particular style of manufacturing should give you a really good idea of what this can do for your business, knowing that it can handle that extreme level of detailed manufacturing. If you see anything in today's run through and you're thinking that that isn't relevant to my industry, don't worry, it is. It's just the language used, and the software itself is fully customizable. Some fantastic things to note first off the bat around Jobman. We've been in the market for over 15 years, helping companies solve real world problems. The primary issues that most manufacturers face are relational to transparency, automation, and probably most importantly, knowing the end result of every job. Jobman will help solve those problems for you, as well as many, many others. Some great things to note about our company is the software is built on what's called an open API. That means that via integrations such as Zapier, you can connect our platform to over 5,000 other programs in the world. Not to mention that we have some phenomenal developments already in place to help Jobman fit seamlessly into your current ecosystem. For example, we connect out to your accounting platforms such as Xero, MyOb, or QuickBooks Online. We have fantastic import capability with some of the most common CAD/CAMs in our industry, such as Cabinet Vision, Mosaic, Microvellum, CABmaster, 2020, Winner Design, and many more. And of course, we are one of the first companies in the world to have a live, open, direct one-touch purchase ordering system via API with Hafele and Wilson & Bradley, two of the biggest hardware suppliers in the world, and many more to come. Let's dive in. So the first thing to note about Jobman is that it is a fully cloud-based platform. That means it can run on any device, whether you're mobile, tablet, PC, laptop, or even a CNC machine with access to a web browser. It operates on any web browser, and all it requires is an up-to-date web browser and internet connection. That means you can handle your business from anywhere in the world, potentially even sitting on a beach, managing your business with letting Jobman take care of everything, knowing that you can step in, double check what's going on at any time, and even make alterations live. One of the first questions we get is really, what is the difference between Office User License and Kiosk License? If you've come to our website, you're thinking about signing up, it's probably the first question you want answered. So let's take care of that straight off the bat. The Office User License and the Kiosk licenses are designed for people. They're your login. And the idea is that we want to provide accountability and seamless transparency through your business. That is to say, if I log in and I complete a task, for example, or I send a quote, or I receive a purchase order, or I fill out a form, you want to know in your business that I'm the one who's done that, when I've done it, how long it took me, and ultimately, if there are any issues around that particular action, who to speak to. So for that reason, we've separated the licensing. We have what's called the Office User License, which we're looking at here today, and probably where we'll spend most of our demonstration. This is designed for your project management team. It's the owners of the business, estimators, purchase orderers, job schedulers, capacity planners, anyone in your business that needs what we call front-end access to the software. So someone who will be actually managing Jobman to then manage your team. The majority of your team will be sit on what's called a kiosk license. Again, it's a login, it's independent, it's very easy for them to utilize. and I'll showcase it today. The idea being that anyone in your business that needs to simply log into the software, complete tasks, measure time, fill out forms, create alerts, receive purchase orders, for example, can all be handled through that secondary license. One of the great things about our platform is we believe wholeheartedly that that should not be an even seat basis for your costing. So part of the investment is we differentiate the price quite heavily between those licenses so that the majority of your team can sit on the kiosk license, making the program even more affordable month to month and giving you a greater return on investment. The second question we most commonly get is around the UI and visibility. You can see it's a modern platform. It's very easy to use. Much of what I'll be going through today provides easy and quick navigation. It's also super important to note, as mentioned previously, the entire platform is customizable. So if the language you see here today is not relevant to your business, or you would word it differently, or you want to build it and structure it differently, not a problem. It can all be managed. And one of the great things about the platform is we have all the help documentation and videos at your fingertips built in. You can even access the support team directly from the software. This means that at any point, if you have any questions or need some help around the software, we're right there to help you. It also means that one person does not necessarily have to become the know-all of the platform, which is so common the case with ERPs. Any staff member relevant to their job can come in, and if they want to find out a bit more information about how to use the platform, they can go direct there, check out the documents or the Academy. We have a phenomenal LMS for end-to-end development and use of the software, all free. They can go in, check it out, and see what's going on. The last note I make before I dive in is, like any software platform, and probably an ERP is a bigger consideration than most platforms for your company. That is to say, it's not just a small, easy, tiny project management software or CRM coming into your business. It is a full end-to-end platform in that we have contact management through to lead management to quotes. We're designed to be there from the beginning to the end of the manufacturing process with your clients. Through to jobs, invoices, obviously, so we can connect out to your accounting software and save a lot of double handling, right through to the job management and capacity, into scheduling, purchase ordering and inventory management control, right through to the final result, which is how did we go? We estimated the job. We had time allowances, service allowances, material allowances. Let's go test them in a real world environment. The direct benefit of that to your business, number one, is bringing everyone onto the same page in one platform. So no more siloed programs, no more sitting there thinking, I've got a CRM and maybe you use Excel for your scheduling and whiteboards to handle the rest of the work. Nothing talks to anybody. Nobody knows what's going on, and everything is a manual process. Jobman is designed to replace all of that, make your life much easier from the outset, buying you back time and your team's time, removing frustration, mitigating waste, reducing inefficiency, which in turn then increases productivity, which ultimately leads to an extremely large increase in profitability. So that's what Jobman does in a nutshell. Let's break it down a bit further. You can see that all of the navigation screens are designed to be fairly easy to engage with and modern in their outlook and the way in which they interact. For example, if we start this process today and we look at your contact management, the idea is that a contact either walks through your door, reaches out via our website, sends you an email, picks up the phone, or maybe they're a customer you've done a lot of business with over the past. This also includes your suppliers. As the software is designed to handle your purchase order management, we want to make sure all of your contacts are in one place. The benefit therein is that if you connect up to your accounting platform, such as Xero, as I've done here today, all of the contacts will pull through ready to go. It also means that as you add new contacts to Jobman, this information will then sync up to your accounting platform and keep the two things live. That just saves a lot of double handling and means all of your information is up to date at all times. We've also got a lot of modern influences in the software to make your life easy. For example, because we are a CRM, we have things like the ability to add multiple contact persons, links to Google Maps. That's us out there, just over here in O'Connell, Western Australia, and of course, making life easy for the team. Because this information can be accessed from your mobile, whether it be Office user mode or Kiosk user mode, makes it easy for the team to know where they're going, have access to relevant information such as contact emails and site addresses and everything therein. It's designed to also handle your email in and out. Everything in the platform is designed to save time. A commonly misunderstood understanding of processes in most Australian businesses, or businesses we've certainly engaged with around the world, is that the average business owner loses 22 days a year to a lack of automation. That is to say, there are processes that could be easily handled within a platform that could buy back that time without them having to be influenced in that process. 22 days a year. Imagine what you could do with just one extra day in your year to focus on, delivering more business, or working on the business, or creating more marketing, or just selling more of what it is you do. That in itself is how the platform is quite comfortably able to deliver massive return on investment, which of course is very exciting and probably why you're here. So let's go for a run through. I want to show you how easy it is to handle the platform and move through it, depending on which area of your team sort of look, where they sit within the business and what their capability is. My objective today is not to take you into a deep dive into every tiny feature. It's a big beast and there's plenty going on. That's simply because we want to provide an overabundance of a return on investment for your company and make sure we can handle everything. So let's start the process. I've connected it up to Xero, pulled down my contacts. I can now utilize those contacts to start the process. And the first step in any process, of course, is the CRM management and the ability then to handle that cell all the way through, picking up important information so that we can utilize it for the job going forward. Yes, Jobman understands fully that most businesses we deal with have different layers and levels of business they do. For example, if you work in the cabinet making space, a proportion of your business might be handled in the residential private space, or you might do a percentage with builders or commercial. So that means that every flow, everything you run through the system can be modified and tweaked to manage that on an independent level in just a couple of clicks. We have some great automations around things like item specifications. You would use these for job specifications. This is basically the ability now to put all the questions you ask your clients before you even start the process in one place. Digital, in an area where now it can follow the life cycle of the job. We also have a lot of automation in the system built around numbering. So for example, we will take care of your lead numbers and your job numbers. These are customizable, so if you use independent job numbers, not a problem. You can change our automation. However, for most companies, having their system simply control all the mundane stuff, such as numbering, what people are doing, how to communicate with the staff, all that can be handled from Jobman's end. Think of it like an operational manager sitting in the back of your business, never gets sick, never gets tired, and will continue to work irrespective of whether you are there or not. And that's the big win. To aid in that, however, there are a lot of areas in the software where you can add text, or what we call delineation of optional descriptions. That way, if you don't refer to a job number within your team as a job number, for example, you might refer to it as the site address, or the deacon job, or the mining output. Doesn't matter. You can enter that information, keep the numbers, and the whole team's on play. Lots of quick, fast automations in our CRM around building things like site addresses or installation addresses. Obviously, if this was a client that you do a lot of work with, such as a builder, and each of the site addresses are independent, I can fill that out from here utilizing Google search without having to use the automation, which means every lead is independent, which then moves into another job. It's probably worth mentioning quickly, that's why we have a lead process. The idea behind the software is we want you to be able to take a contact into a lead, into a job with a seamless automation, but providing reporting the whole way through. Where are most of my leads coming from? What are my contact sources? Where am I best able to spend my budget? If I have X number of leads a month, how many of those leads actually turn into jobs? Of those leads, which are relevant to which of my business types? Referral, builder, residential, commercial, for example. Where is that work coming from? How many leads am I getting? How many leads am I winning? And that in turn means how many jobs am I able to put through the system. The benefit of that is directly from the output within a matter of minutes of starting to bring Jobman into your business, we're already delivering return, giving you key metrics and data to help starting improve your process. Everything in Jobman is designed around target date. Being that it's a job and workflow management system, what we really want to do is we want to create a bit of automation. We want to allow the system to really take care of your team. And most importantly, start building expectations into your flow. As I said right back at the beginning, if this workflow is too complicated or you do not need as much information in here, for example, if your typical process is meet the client, create the specs, get a design and quote out the door, get them to accept it, get paid and move on, you can simplify the management in our system to that level, and then over time build it up to be more understanding and more complicated to handle for your team. The most important thing to note is that the team are the ones who will manage this software. They will be the ones who will go in and tick off operations, measure time, and keep the software flowing so that this doesn't become an admin burden to you or the project management team. Everybody gets involved. So because of that, the more engaging you can make the platform, I guess the simpler, so to speak, that you can make the processes, the easier it is for the team to get on board. Everyone gets engaged, everybody wins. The other benefit around the lead management in our system is we have multiple resources at your disposal to help start trapping and retaining information. For example, we can connect out to your cloud file storage, such as Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, SharePoint, and create file structures automatically so that folders, files, JPEGs, pictures, PDFs can be uploaded to our system, and now they're accessible by the team. So anything relevant to this lead or job can be placed in the platform via that connection, and then you have access throughout the entire history of the job. Keeping everybody on the same page. It's such a small thing, but it's such a big win. Making sure that if there are specs and designs relevant to this lead, that the design team knows about it, the estimating team knows about it, and of course, right down to the manufacturing and potentially installation team as well. I mentioned at the beginning, we also have those beautiful automations around things like item specifications. I'm not going to dive too much in here, but just keep in mind they're a phenomenal use case for where you can start creating and improving the way in which you deal with your information from a front end. This is ultimately what you're doing in the job to manage with your clients. So putting that information in one place, uploading pictures, files, connecting out to your categories, whatever it is you need to do to have that information present and live. And yes, we absolutely have catalog imaging built in the system. Everything as a platform is designed around visual benefit to your company. That can now be placed in one area and then utilized through the entire job. Can also be printed to PDF. So even though we are a digital company and we are very much about providing a solution that'll get things off paper and off people's desks and potentially in areas where they get lost, found, burnt, thrown in the bin, we can now provide an opportunity for that information to be in one place. But if you still do like to print things, not a problem, or you can print to PDF and email. Bear in mind, everything you just saw there, fully customizable, so you can change the way those questions look, very easy to manipulate, have checkboxes, tech boxes, JPEG updates, image handling, file updates, anything you need to make that form work for your business. But now we've got everything in one place. And that really leads into the first superpower benefit of Jobman, and it's our quoting system. It's important to keep in mind that every company in the world right now has a quoting process. Without it, you wouldn't be in business. So our job is not necessarily to tell you that you need to change that system. Our job is to provide a better system that can then step in and be used to really control and automate. One of the biggest wins I find most clients take on board when they first engage with Jobman is they may have an Excel spreadsheet. They might do linear meter runs. Things might be worked out on paper. There might be material and schedule breakdowns. Most of that information tends to sit in one person's head. Downside being, if that person isn't there, and if that person is you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're not there, or you take a week off, or anything around those relationships happen, or your lead estimator leaves, suddenly there is no accountability in the business for being able to estimate and move forward. Excuse me. One of the beauties of Jobman is you can utilize our quoting to be able to build what's called like a standard template. You're essentially building a way in which any member of your team with a little bit of training can come in and start estimating in your business. That's the first benefit. The second benefit is that once this information is in the system, it can be used over and over and over again, allowing you to provide small tweaks over time to make sure that we're best benefiting your business and, of course, keeping your pricing up to date. Because it's digital, it's live, it's easy to see historic, to know where you're up to, and of course, keep on top of those quotes so that you're putting more business out the door. I'm just going to provide some easy examples here of some ways in which you can utilize the quoting platform. One of the big things, sorry, I apologize. I should have had more coffee before I started today. One of the big things to note is what I'm showing you here is the best use case scenario of the software to give you the greatest automation and improve your business. That is not to say you cannot come into our platform and simply start entering some catalog materials, build some labor operations and services, and then literally use this just like you would a normal fit through. That is to say, I'm going to add some time for this job, add some materials, add some services, even add some line items to cover some stuff, and just get moving forward. If that's what you need to do because you're looking to solve job management or other areas of the business first, not a problem. The system can handle it. We even have things like presets built in. So it's like filling out an Excel spreadsheet. But what I want to show you is a really powerful, quick and efficient and profitable way to be able to quote where we can use that information to then manage the rest of the system. And we do that utilizing what's called product management. Now, for those of you familiar with any form of CAD system, you'd sort of be across how engineering platforms kind of quote. That is to say that they have products in them. Those products are parametric and they can build and design for you so that you can do a material takedown. Jobman has built an incredibly powerful system that follows that suit without you having to spend potentially hours of your life designing before you get a quote out the door. Because let's face it, if you're putting 50 quotes out the door and you're only winning 50%, that means that's 25 lost time segments at a highly skilled member of your team before you can even get the quote out the door and get paid to start the job. So we'd much rather create an allowance where you can build those quotes quickly and easily, know that they will be profitable from the outset, and then be able to move that quote forward, win more jobs, which means you then receive the deposit, at which point it's worth going in and designing. So even if you don't work in the cabinet making space, not a problem. You've all got a kitchen or a bathroom or a laundry. You'll know what I'm referring to here when I talk about product management. A base one door is just a cabinet. You've probably got plenty of them in your house. It's got two sides, potentially a shelf, backs, a top, a door, a couple of hinges, and a handle. So the beauty of our software is from a very small number of product library, you can then influence an virtually infinite amount of calculations. For example, all of the parts inside this product are fully parametric. So as I make the thing bigger or smaller or wider, the price will go up based on the fact that we need more material allowance. If you don't work in the cabinet making space, not a problem. Think of this for virtually any other manufacturing area it can be utilized. And we have plenty of clients that sit outside that space. A shed, for example, the bigger I make the shed, the more number of sheets I need, the more allowance material I need, therefore the price goes up. But I can build only a handful of products and achieve that same result. The secondary superpower there is we understand that virtually every industry we deal with operates in what's called the bespoke space. That is to say that every single job you manage and engage with is a little bit different, and it's usually different based on the specifications. So coming back to those specifications, we can now utilize Jobman to build and influence pricing for the materials based on that product. So like I said, with a very small number of products, and I think out of the box, if you chose cabinet making as your industry, for example, and started running with Jobman, I think there's about 73 products built in and about 29 quote pricing options ready to go. Great thing about Jobman, we have seated sites, so we really help you get operational fast. You can start to quickly and easily bring in those products, choose the material types to influence the price, and then have Jobman work out the numbers virtually seamlessly for you. This means that with 75 to 100 products, you can basically create an infinite number of combination variations. It's incredible. It's powerful. It's all there. It's going to really change the game. Now, fair's fair. No, it's not as quick as easy as a linear meter takeoff. I can't just look at a wall and say, yeah, that's going to be about 20 grand. But that number in itself has never helped your business. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It just can't modify and benefit your business moving forward. And the primary reason it cannot is because you can't break it down. The advantage of products in our system is you can come in and you can see that built in the smarts behind the product are time allowances, material schedules, and parametric parts, even services. The beauty of this is it means the more of these products I add to my quote, the higher the allowances, the more time I need, but most importantly, the greater the number of things that I'm influencing in the background that can then be measured. And this is the big win. No, it's not quite as fast as linear meter takeoff, but I tell you what, it's pretty close. And if you've got your wits about you, you could even build a product library that replicates what you're doing right now, build the pricing into Jobman, start moving forward, and then see the benefit of that data-driven analysis to improve your business whilst easily being able to come over and switch into this system. And it gets better. Once you've built out a number of products or you utilize one of our seeded sites which have a number of products built into them, you can quickly and easily start taking advantage of things like presets. And presets is basically the ability to essentially fill this out off the plan, much like, much like an Excel spreadsheet. So you can come in here, modify the quantities, modify the sizing of each of those products, apply a different style basis, and you're off and running. In a matter of minutes, I can produce really accurate quotes that can then be beautifully presented to the client, taken off and utilized from there, which is absolutely huge. And yes, as I said, you can come in here at any point and reach out to your catalog, for example, and add materials directly in. I mean, we are your product designed to be your product management system, also your purchase ordering and inventory system. So having access to direct material takeoffs to be able to bring back in for really complicated or bespoke work, not a problem. You can absolutely come in here and add extra allowances on top of what the job might recommend from those products. We can add things like services. So a lot of manufacturers we deal with also operate different project management as part of their quoting. So it's not just the products they deliver, it's also then the appliance management for install or electrical work or offsite upholstery work or spraying, freight, delivery charges. All those things can be seamlessly added into the platform and then utilized to really give you a fast and efficient quoting platform. The secondary benefit, as I mentioned though, is that in this system, we can utilize all of that information to then manage and most importantly, automate your capacity and scheduling. Now that's the big win. And that's why we want to show you this before we dive into the bit you're probably very excited to see, which might be, for example, the job scheduling and capacity handling. It's worth understanding how this works so you can really get the best out of it. And absolutely, once you get used to the system, you can start building things like style ranges. So in one click, I can influence all the products in here. Not to worry, we know just how bespoke your industry is. This can be modified at what we call the item level or the area level, can even be modified directly at the product level. So lots of capability there, lots of flexibility, lots of ways to make your life easy. The secondary benefit to that is we then have what's called templating built into our system. So at a click of a button, you can then shoot this quote directly out to your client in a beautifully formatted method that has your information on it, your price breakdowns, terms and conditions, and logos. So they get a really beautifully presented quote. And as part of even the standardized service, we do offer a number of different quote templates so that you can really get moving with the software fast. For example, if in your company, you need more than just a basic quote style, you also want to include all of the inclusions, but you might not necessarily want to break it down by price so they can't take your quote down the road and rip you off. Not a problem. The information's there. You can subtotal it up, all built into HTML templating. And of course, if you want to make tweaks and changes, you in 5 minutes with ChatGPT should have no problems to make that even more customizable for your business. So lots of phenomenal use case there. As I said, you can email this directly out. As part of the email service, we have accept, comment, and decline built into our quoting. So a big win there is clients going to be able to come back to you faster. When this quote is accepted, I'll get notified. It'll let me know that we're ready to go. You would never have to update the status. I just have to do it for demonstration purpose. Basically, this would shoot out via email. The client would accept, come back in here. We can then manage the invoicing, sync it up to your accounting platform such as Xero. That'll take care of a fair bit of data and double data entry. And then most importantly, from the outset, before you even send this quote out to your clients, we will give you the validity of reporting immediately, so that you should know what the total rough hours look like for this project, or as close as they can be based on the estimate. Total material breakdowns ready to go, so you can start forward planning your inventory and purchase ordering control and even service handling, which ultimately leads into you knowing what you're quoting out, what the cost should be, and all things being equal based on the numbers you've given Jobman for your overhead, wastage, and profit margin, how much you should make. Absolutely fantastic. Super important to note, just quickly off the bat, no, we're not an engineering program. That is to say, excuse me, these amounts here are not fully optimized. That's where your engineering or CAD/CAM will step in to absolutely improve this ratio. But I tell you what, we have optimization built in the system and it's pretty smart. If Jobman reckons you need 21.88 sheets, you can probably bet your bottom dollar that your CAD will come back and nest and say we can get away with 20. You're covered from the front end. That is to say, you've estimated profitably before you've even begun the job. But your engineering platform has then played a role in that ecosystem to help make the jobs more profitable, doing its job by being able to nest the materials and optimize your hardware. So now the quote's accepted, we're able to move forward. And that was all pretty easy. A couple of clicks, contact into lead, create a quote, get it out the door. Best thing about having that email service means if the client comes back and wants to make some changes, say they comment or decline, not a problem. You get notified, dive back into the quote, update those changes, shoot them straight back. And in minutes, the client will be blown away saying how incredibly professional it is to deal with your team. They got information back to me. It was professional. It was fast. It's easy for me to see and understand. Of course, I want to do business with a company that operates at that level. So second big win, aside from transparency and starting to get some automation around your CRM and some reporting, is hopefully we should start winning you more jobs. In fact, I don't even need to say hopefully. I know that for a fact. That's just putting more dollars back in your pocket almost immediately. We haven't even scratched the surface of what this software can do for your business. So let's grab that lead now and let's turn that into a job, because this is the most important part of what you want to see for a job management system. How then do we trap all that information and utilize it to step forward? Well, good news. All that hard work you did right at the front end can now be used and moved into the job. So the item specifications and lead files that you've put up with specs and drawings, contract information can now be concentrated and sent across to the job. We also can now attach that quote so I can take advantage of all that background information to really drive my automation. And lastly, of course, even though we are a really powerful workflow management system, we know that every job you do is slightly different. So one of the best things about the platform is, yes, we do and can handle what we call job types. So that is to say, we have a standardized workflow process, but dependent on what will happen in that manufacturing process, we either need to increase or detract certain allowances. For example, if you need to do 2-pack painted doors, or the item you manufacture needs to go out for lacquering or zinc coating, something along those lines, galvanizing as part of your process, we need to build an allowance into the workflow so that that can be sent out and then returned before assembly. All of that can be handled at a click. We can put those allowances in. If this particular job doesn't require those allowances, simply don't put those allowances in and the workflow will detract. And that's how we can really bespokely and cleverly help your manufacturing process, even though every work you do is very slightly different. But the real superpower is right here. Job value has come in, task management has been set, and now instead of these being guesswork, which is one of the hardest things for most companies to deal with from a scheduling and capacity point of view, we can now utilize those times based on those operations pulled in from that quote in a real sense, which means if I now come into my site, set that target date, everything is target date or start date driven, depending on how you want to look at it. If I want to get this in by the end of July, Jobman can now go do its job. It'll look at those operations. It'll look at that amount of time. It'll look at all the other work you've got going on. It'll look at your labor and capacity centers, and it will tell you, is that even possible? And according to my site currently, based on the amount of work we've got going through, it isn't possible. I would have had to have kicked this job off a month ago just to get it in by that target date. That's the big win right there. All of your scheduling, all of your capacity, everything taken control of from the outset, and all you've had to do is plug data into a system. The more you use it, the more data it has, the more it can help benefit your business. And don't worry, it absolutely works forwards as well. So I can go in, and if I realize that I start adding jobs to Jobman and we're not going to be able to get them done in time, I can do the reverse. I can put the job in, give it the numbers, and let Jobman work out accurately where it is we can actually get this done for your business. All seamlessly, all with a few clicks. Absolutely fantastic. Now, obviously, we've just started to scratch the surface. There's a lot more the platform can do. There's a couple more things I want to show you. I know we've got a little bit of time left, just so you can see now the end-to-end effect of that. But bear in mind, everything you've seen here today, customizable. So again, if these are not your operations, these are not your statuses or your flow, not a problem. We can see what's going on. And it is certainly important to note that one of the primary benefits of Jobman is that status-driven capability. That is to say, once all the tasks or operations in an area have been done, it moves to the next status, which means at any level throughout the software, you know where all your leads and all your jobs are up to. How many jobs have we got right now in machining or manufacture or dispatch and installation? How many are in maintenance where we need to do reworks? How many of our leads are sitting in the quote sent status and they just need to be followed up? Be amazed the number of companies that bring this software on and suddenly realize that 30% of their leads are just getting wasted because they're not able to then have a follow-up process where someone knows when I come in the morning, my job is to go in and interact and basically get those things done. I've got a few estimates to do and a few follow-ups. Just that one improvement of process and transparency could bring 20 more percent win rate into your business. And that's hundreds of thousands of dollars for basically a very small investment a month, which is huge. The second part, though, is now that Jobman is managing everything, we need to communicate with the team. We need to let them know what to do so that they can then come in and get their jobs done without you telling them what to do. I promised that this system was all about automation and transparency. So let's go have a look. And this is the second part of the software. Like I said, the first part is the office manager role. This is your team managing the jobs, managing the quotes, managing the purchase orders, estimates, so on and so forth. And then the team gets involved to keep the software moving forward. So you can see there, it's nice and easy to utilize. It's a 4-digit PIN for our kiosk members. This can be handled on a phone. If you don't want your staff working on their phones, then a tablet could work. It doesn't need to be an Apple or iPad. You can go down to most Officeworks or easy to control hardware places from there and pick up fairly cheap tablets. You just need an up-to-date browser. The reason we recommend some form of mobile device, though, is one of the big benefits Jobman will provide your business is they can take this kiosk with them to site. So we really want them to be quite flexible. There's a number of things they can do in the platform around taking pictures, uploading files, finishing operations, for example. So this also becomes the service or site management part of your software, as well as the manufacturing team part and the project management part as well. So it is useful having that built in, that functionality built in so they can use it. But ultimately, you know what I mean? You can have this set up on a CNC screen, for example, on a web browser, and your cutting team can just be ticking off for operations. It's important to note everything you're looking at here is customizable as always, but also user controlled. So for example, I'm an administrator of the software, so I can see everything. If I was just part of the manufacturing team, I wouldn't even be linked to all these other agenda screens. I wouldn't see them. Therefore, my job is really easy. Come in the morning, 4-digit PIN. First thing I want you to do is come in and clock on. Why? Now we're solving the productive time management HR issue. Time and attendance. Nice and simple. Accurate to the second, absolutely phenomenal. But let's allow the team to then manage these things in one platform rather than having multiple processes. So I come in the morning, I clock on, I have my coffee, maybe a 5-minute toolbox meeting, and then I start work. And I immediately come in and Jobman has handled everything for me already. That is to say, all of the operations and tasks for all of the jobs that are up to the status ready to go are sitting there at my fingertips. So I simply have to come in and start working. You're now getting the best of 3 benefits in your platform. Number 1, the team is in control of making things get ticked off and completed, so the process becomes automated. You're not managing the software is managing the team. Number 2, we're now immediately building that data you wanted. We've estimated the number of total hours of cutting or installation or assembly or machining or drafting. Now let's go measure it and make sure that if I said 2 hours, it actually takes 2 hours. If it consistently takes more than 2 hours, you have a problem. And that means you're less profitable. Great news is Jobman can now tell you that, and you will know today or this week rather than 12 months from now when you go to see your accountant. The best part to that is you can make those changes today or this week. So in the instance where you consistently overtime on one particular operational area, that might mean one of 3 things. Number 1, we're not allowing enough time in our quoting. Easy fix, go export our products out of Jobman, quickly isolate and upgrade that time, pull them back in. Now every quote going forward will have more allowance. Improved profitability off the bat. Second, the team might need more training. It might be simply a case that that particular production management team isn't operating at the best of their efficiency, therefore they're always falling behind. That one piece of information can then help you improve their productivity, which in turn helps the whole team become more productive and put more money in your pocket. Number 3, you might need to fire them all. No, I'm joking. Obviously, stuff very hard to find. So Jobman is there to really give you those numbers from the outset, and everything they are doing here is live. So as we said, all the information they need is at their fingertips. I can see any of those job or item specs. If I need to see files or drawings or anything relevant to my job, it's at my fingertips. This doesn't just solve the problem of automation for your business, it solves the constant interruption problem. The team is constantly having to interrupt you or someone at a level of management that knows information relevant to this job so they can keep moving forward. One of the most common concerns people get about Jobman is they say, absolutely fantastic. I can see the automation. I can see what this is going to do for my business and but I'm actually really worried that because it's reliant on the team and their engagement, that's going to be the stopping point for this implementation in my company. Don't fear. We've been doing this for many, 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 many years. In fact, the reverse effect happens. Think about it. For the first time ever, you've empowered your staff to give you two key pieces of benefit in your business. Number one, they're providing you with KPIs and metrics. You think that they think that's a bad thing. They actually think it's a phenomenal thing. For the first time ever, they know that they work harder than the people in the rest of their team, and now they can tell you about it. Imagine how confident they're going to be coming into their next, payroll conversation with you, knowing that they've given you the metrics to prove that they not only work harder and more efficiently, but they make less mistakes. The second benefit is we've now empowered them to do their job. For example, what happens when something goes wrong? And something always goes wrong. It's an unfortunate part of manufacturing, but it's just the truth. This is how easy it is for me to resolve as an employee of your company. Create an alert, choose a type, write some notes, take some pictures. And this is why I said having some form of mobile device or transporter device with a camera in it is just absolutely getting the most out of the software. And that's it. That easy. I haven't had to go running around. I'm not looking for someone. I'm not freaking out. I'm not losing time and productivity. There's literally a process in place where I can go in and digitally create the alert, hit a button, take some pictures, send it off to you. And this could be damaged goods. This could be we're missing parts for the manufacturing. I could be out on site and something's gone wrong. No stress. I don't have to tell the system who I am, what job I'm working on. All that information is there. I just hit a button. It goes directly out to you. The project management team gets it. They receive that alert. They get notified live in the system, and then they decide what to do. Create a work order in the job if it's a maintenance rerun that needs to be cut through. Benefit of that is now the information we need to cover those maintenance and reruns is handled in one system. And two, most importantly, that information is now being tracked. So the real world cost of mistakes, stuff ups, or, it's not always someone's fault. It's not about pointing the finger. Simply things happen can now be measured inside the job. So you know what impact that's having on your profitability. Right back at the beginning, I said the point is, let's give you the estimate and now let's go test it. This is part of that process. No one's had to disturb you. No one's had to freak out. It can all be done very easily. Then if I need to complete that task and set it off, I simply complete the task. It gets finished, removed from my agenda screen and moved on to the next process. And I've now done everything you need from me to be able to keep the software moving forward. And the honest truth is, if you can use Facebook on a phone, you can use this kiosk. Absolutely phenomenal. Doesn't just stop there though. From this one task licensing, I can also have access, if you choose, it is all user controlled, to help you in several other areas of your business. For example, we're the team on the ground. So as the stock's coming in the back door, we may as well be the ones receiving it for you. Or in this instance, this has been partially received already. The second shipment rocks in, not a problem. I've received that stock. The status updates to fully received. Your front end updates to fully received. Everybody knows where they're up to. That's now been digitally received to your inventory, and the team can use that stock assigned to those jobs or assigned to stock to then complete those jobs and pick to the tasks. Absolutely fantastic. Everything at my fingertips. Probably my favorite feature in the kiosk is forms. There's lots of other things you can do, obviously, in here. They can print labels, handle picking list of digital materials, so on and so forth. Like I said, there's so much to this platform. I don't want to get bogged down in the nitty gritty, but I want to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes to make sure you're making the right decision that this is the platform to help your business. And here it is, fully customizable, where we had item specifications for the lead team, we have forms for the job management team. And an important part of every process in manufacturing is validation. So when we finish that job, all I need from your team is to pull out your phone or tablet, jump on your kiosk, and then go through, fill out some information, tick some boxes, and again, just take 5, 10, 20 photos, whatever it is you need, so that we can then turn around and basically say that once we've finished this job, we have the capability to come back at any point and know that all of this information is live, it's presented, it's beautifully finished, and that we've done our job. Such a small thing, such a small, incredible feature has saved companies hundreds of thousands of dollars moving forward. At any point between now and the next 100 years, if any client comes back to me or supervisor comes back and says, hey, there's a problem with this job, you can say, hang on a minute, let me just pull up the form. Again, I can print it to PDF and email it to you with high resolution photos. Everything in our system is compressed on the back end, not on the front end. And say, no, when we left site, it was beautiful. Or when it left our warehouse, it was beautiful. If there was a problem, we would have had an alert created, we would have fixed it, come back out, sorted it out, and we'd know that before we delivered and brought that back to your company for final payment, that it was dealt with. That's the professional level with which we deal with. All of that built in, ready to go, nice and easy for the team to use. So that really shows you now a fairly full run through of how the software works. You can see from front end to back end, it's all about the automation, the management. We get the team engaging. They're the ones completing these tasks. We've got activity logging so you know what's going on. We can have amazing things built into our system around triggers. So one of the phenomenal things we can do to save you a lot of time in your business is create things like email triggers or notifications. So when certain operations are ticked off, somebody knows what's going on. For example, if all these operations were completed in this job and we'd stepped over here and we'd completed the final installation, you might have an automatic email trigger go directly out to your accounts team and say, hey, job 235 has now been complete. Please send out the invoice. Just that small amount of automation just means things are not getting missed. You're not having to worry about them. You can also build beautiful email templates into our system, which can trigger communication directly to your clients. Could be from a lead. When I first signed up and started that lead entry, I ticked that box off and a communication or marketing piece goes directly out to the client to say, hey, thank you so much for coming to work with Design Show Manufacturing. We're really excited to do business with you. We've been around a long time. Here are some client testimonials so you know you're in good hands. One of our team members will reach out to you shortly to get the process moving forward. Little things like that really change the game for how your business automates and is perceived professionally. And of course, internal communication as well. So we can build some of these triggers for notifications. There are so many of those features in the software to really help your business step forward and take care of a lot of automation and get massive return of investment. In fact, in most instances, it only requires one of these features, or I think someone said to me the other day, 10% use of the software, and it's paid for itself tenfold, let alone everything else it can do for our business. So even though it is a big bit of software and it can achieve a lot for your business, don't be scared. You don't have to go in and build this thing end to end before you can start getting use out of it. You can go in, start solving some problems today, this week, and get it operational. The last bit before we call it a day, of course, is the final wrap through to that flow. That is to say, great job, man. You've handled my contact management, my leads, my quotes, my job management, my capacity, my scheduling, all under control. And yes, we have some other phenomenal tools around there, visibility for your capacity and scheduling. But now we need to round out the process. I need to order the materials, look towards my inventory management, and get everything ticked off so that I can do my reporting. Not a problem. Jobman has you end to end, as we said. A couple of fantastic features around the catalog management, of course, is we have automatic sourcing built into the system. So as you can see, I can bring in my BOM of materials list, and this can be imported from CAD. This can be manually entered using the catalog. You can utilize intelligence from the quotes to bring certain materials through that have SKUs. For example, my Arichi blankets that I brought in as part of the kitchen, the SKU is known to my system, therefore it followed the job from front to back. I don't have to worry about someone ordering the wrong thing because the design team and the front end team has already managed it for me, which means in one click, Jobman can run off and go do the most important thing for your business that you require. That is to say, if it is an inventory, use it first, grab it, mitigate waste. Secondary, if it isn't available in inventory, place it to bulk purchase ordering so that we can then take advantage of that and in one click produce purchase orders for our suppliers and really streamline our process. And yes, such a small thing again, but I tell you what, catalog imaging is one of those small, incredibly powerful features that just absolutely changes the game from validity point of view. How many times have you had to ring a supplier and gone, what have you just delivered? This is the wrong thing. And they've gone back and gone, hey, someone in your team punched in this SKU. We just deliver what you ask us for. And you're like, hang on a minute, what's going on there? That simple process that happens every day in your company or every week is probably costing you tens of thousands of dollars. We can solve that with one feature. Everyone from the design team to the quoting team, the purchase ordering team to the manufacturer team to the installation team can see what it is exactly the thing is you're meant to be buying and using. Really incredible. Now, you're probably wondering, just off the top of your head, and I'll quickly mention it, why a couple of these items did not source. That's because they're what we call quote pricing options. Not going to dive into those today, but basically there is a capability with our system to separate the concept of quote pricing options to the actual materials ordered. Very common in virtually every manufacturing industry we've dealt with, where you build range pricing, but when it comes to the actual purchase order, you want to deliver on the exact SKU of the materials. Quick random example, if you've ever walked into a kitchen showroom, you've looked up at a wall, there might be a number of boards, and up there's a number of handles on those boards. And it's that board is $20 a handle, that board's $30 a handle, that board's $40 a handle. When you're selecting handles, you're selecting the price point. You're saying, yep, for the estimation or the quotation, I want $20 handles and there's 50 of them at that price. When it actually comes to go build your kitchen, someone needs to go in and choose the exact handle from the exact supplier, say Laminex or Hafele, with the exact SKU, with the exact color, and put that off. So the system can handle the best of both worlds. Now that I've quickly run that source, and yes, you can see we have location handling in there for companies that are a larger scale and have multiple areas with which they keep stock, I can now simply come in, go to my purchase order batch area, check out my pending items, nice and easy, and then literally Jobman will do the rest of the heavy lifting. So you can imagine I've entered 10 jobs into the system. I've got plenty of work coming through with plenty of orders that need to be brought in. Yes, the intelligence is there in the system so that we have minimum stock points and reorder points built in. So you can set those up on your common items. For example, sheet goods, whiteboard for carcass for kitchen cabinet manufacturing, pine, or sheet metal. Whatever it is you sit on, you probably got hinges and a few other items in your warehouse that you keep continuously. Jobman can now handle that for you. And it can handle it on both levels. Once we go below point X, add more to my next purchase order, and you can define what that amount is. So if you get a better price for buying in bulk, not a problem, Jobman can handle it. Built into this, the intelligence behind this, we of course can handle packs, rolls, breakdowns, individual items, pairs, square meter or square foot optimization, conversions to sheets. It's all in the system to make your life easy, which means all I need to do is click on the supplier. Jobman will bring in all of the materials relevant to that supplier, ready to go in one click. We're then going to wrap it all up, ready to go. And yep, don't worry, we're not going to send them a massive sheet with 500 items on it. The system is intelligent enough to wrap it all up, bring it in relevant to each of those jobs, set the pricing based on those. And if you are able to take advantage and you work in the industry, and for example, Hafele or Wilson and Bradley is one of your major suppliers, then having the upgrade your subscription for the supplier integration is absolutely phenomenal. Like I said, first of its kind in the world, and we expect a lot more suppliers to come on board in the coming years. Really, really exciting. You saw how easy that was. That's a direct order, direct to the API, to my organization. It creates an order number. It lets me know if there's any update of these prices, i.e. my catalog's a little bit out, so I need to go in and update that. It gives me ETD return. Phenomenal. Not to worry, we also handle purchase ordering to all your other suppliers as well. We've been doing it for a very long time. So you can sheet these orders out, the status updates, everything comes in, everything's ready to go, everything's digital. You know where the information is, and then all your team needs to do, as they did down on the back end, is receive these goods. What's then happened is Jobman has digitally brought the items into your warehouse. You can see at any given point a live amount of numbers of things that you're sitting on, and also what is in the back end that's filterable by information that's also been assigned to jobs. So getting the best of both worlds. This means that if I'm looking at a shelf and it's telling me there's 100 of something, I don't actually have 100 of something, 80 may be assigned and only 20 for stock. I don't need to think about the process. I don't need to spend a lot of time working out my numbers and doing stock takes. It's all being handled digitally for me. Once I reach below minimum stock point, more will be added to the next item. Or if you're a company that orders large amounts for project management, it comes into your inventory at the beginning of the month, for example, because you get bulk discounting pricing. For the rest of the month, all of those jobs will simply source out and find that inventory. All seamless, all in one place, which means the last part to that roundhouse effect, front to back, I promised you we could deal with it and we can absolutely handle it for your business, is then the team via the kiosk mode or someone inside your project management team can then come in, have a look at all the materials that have been sourced, and as they're utilizing them for the manufacturing, remove them digitally from your inventory, getting a nice, clean, roundhouse effect, which means ultimately we can provide for you exactly what you want to know, which is every job live to the minute, every day, where 1 second of time has been applied to it or any purchase ordering has been done. How do we stand? If things start going red, we know we've got problems. We can start looking into those, whether it be the materials being ordered above price from the estimation. We might need to update our catalogue from time and effort management handling and everything in between. And the system is extremely powerful from a filtration point of view. Don't feel that just because you're looking at those set number of quotes, set number of reports, that's all you're limited to. Within each of those reports, there is hundreds of particular filters that can then be utilized to really break down that information so that you can see it how you want to see it. And of course, then saved as a custom report, which means once a week, twice a week, once a month, however you operate, you can simply come into the system, run those reports, know your numbers, and start improving today, not 6 months from now. And of course, everything that's just been managed and handled can then be seen directly from the front screen. So the final part and piece to the puzzle is rather than have to go in and dive into certain areas of the software, I could literally, I think there was a post the other day of one of our clients sitting on a beach, literally running his entire business with laptop open, just going, I can come in the morning while I'm having my coffee. I know where everybody is up to. Simple traffic light system, red is bad, green is good. I know where things are behind from this one screen. I can come in and make modifications. I can assign members. I can change target dates. I can move things around to ensure we keep on track and critical dates are met. Even better, being that this is live information, my team knows what's going on. So they know when they're starting to fall behind so that they can be part of the process to help us improve, to make sure we hit those critical dates. And it's not just about showing everybody what to do, it's then about measuring that time in real time so we can see what all the staff are actually doing and working on. All easy, all in real time, all at your fingertips, all in one platform. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for taking the time to view through this demonstration. I hope that we're able to kick off and answer a lot of questions for you around how the solution can really benefit you and your business. Obviously, if you have further questions, please do feel free to reach out. A lot of companies sort of can watch through the demonstration and it will tick most of their boxes and they're happy to then to move forward, jump on the website, sign up, go to jobman.com, 14-day free trial. So not a problem there. You can test everything I've just shown you, make sure it is the right solution for you, and then simply step forward month by month. So no contracts here. You can literally jump in and pay month by month. And then if you decide after a couple of months it's not for you and step away, not a problem. We're not locking you in. Very easy and comfortable company to deal with. And from the website, if you go to www.jobman.com, you'll also see under support our implementation page. And that's probably the second big question everyone asks after seeing the solution. Go, yep, absolutely, this is phenomenal. This is going to change my life. How then do I get involved and get it set up? On that page, you'll find lots of opportunity to get that done for your business. Everything from our free resources. We have a full academy called the LMS or an LMS basically built in so that you can literally run from end to end with documents ready to go. We have a phenomenal YouTube channel, which is probably how you found this video, where you'll see a lot of webinars we put up, a lot of educational material and information. So if you're a visual learner, you can sort of watch as you go through. The documentation is in the site as well. And for companies that are looking for more structured help, and let's be honest, this is an investment in your future. It's not a simple, quick, easy decision. And that's why we're happy to put as much information out there as to really help you make the best choice for your business. Engaging with a partner to really help this happen and be built foundationally from the ground up is extremely important. So being able to take advantage of our partners page and reach out to some of our third-party integrators and implementation teams for either training right through to custom build is absolutely worth your time. Money spent now simply means you're going to get that return of investment in the software in the future. And we even offer just one-on-one training sessions. So if you're pretty comfortable and pretty tech savvy, or you have someone in your team that can really help get this operational, and you just need a little bit of help on how to customize it, not a problem. We've got you back. Options are plenty. as they say, and I certainly do hate this saying, but it really is absolutely relevant to this conversation. The juice is worth the squeeze. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope now you've had an opportunity to understand and see a bit more of the software. If you do have particular questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to ask them. If you need more of a tailored demonstrative experience, of course, jump in, reach out to the team, and they'll be happy to jump online with you. But hopefully, this has answered the vast majority of your questions, and you've now got an opportunity to be able to move forward and really start making massive improvements in your business and your life. Thanks so much for your time.